There is one thing that causes more human misery than any other single factor in human experience, and that is the belief in financial limitation. But I want to tell you something today, and I want you to listen very carefully. This belief is absolutely and completely false. Every person sitting here today, every person who will hear these words, lives in a universe of infinite supply. Not some people, all people. Not sometimes, always. Not when conditions are right now. The same infinite substance that created the stars in their courses, that causes the flowers to bloom and the rivers to flow, is available for your individual use at this very moment. Now you might say to me, Dr. Holmes, if this is true, why do I struggle financially? Why do I lie awake at night wondering how the bills will be paid? That is exactly what I am going to explain to you today. The problem is never supply. Supply is infinite and everywhere present. The problem is consciousness, and consciousness can be scientifically changed through understanding and through spiritual mind treatment. Let me explain to you exactly how this works, because when you understand this principle clearly, you will never again question your right to abundance. There is a creative law operating in this universe that responds with mathematical precision to your mental attitudes about supply. This law knows nothing about your bank account, nothing about your credit score, nothing about your family background or your present circumstances. It only knows how to give you the exact equivalent of what you are in consciousness about supply. The person who demonstrates financial abundance and the person who struggles with lack are both using this same creative law perfectly. They are both getting exactly what they are in consciousness. The abundant person holds abundance consciousness, often without knowing how or why this works. The person experiencing lack holds lack consciousness, usually inherited from family patterns, social conditioning, and false teaching about the nature of supply. But here is what I know to be true, and this is not theory, this is not my opinion, this is scientific fact. Consciousness can be changed through understanding the principle and through the practice of scientific prayer. And when consciousness changes, conditions must change, because that is how the law works. The law cannot give you anything different from what you are in consciousness. The question then becomes, how do we change supply consciousness? How do we demonstrate the infinite supply that is our birthright? That is what we are going to accomplish together today. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to prove to you, beyond any reasonable doubt, that you have access to infinite supply. Not as a belief that you must accept on faith, not as a hope that you must cling to, but as a scientific fact based on the fundamental nature of reality itself. I am going to give you 3 specific practical techniques that will change your supply consciousness permanently when you use them correctly. And I am going to show you exactly why this must work. Not because I say so, not because it sounds good, but because it is law, and the law never fails. When we are finished today, you will know, not believe, but know with scientific certainty that financial limitation is impossible for you. This is not my promise to you. This is the promise of the universe itself, written into the very fabric of creation. You cannot be separated from your supply any more than you can be separated from the life that you are. Now let me make this principle of infinite supply absolutely clear to you through a simple illustration that anyone can understand. Consider the vast ocean before you. Millions of gallons of water stretching beyond the horizon. When you dip a cup into that ocean and drink from it, does the ocean have less water? Of course not. The ocean remains infinite, regardless of how much you take from it. You could bring 1 million people to that ocean, each with their own cup, and the ocean would still be infinite. This is exactly, and I mean exactly, how universal supply works. The infinite substance of the universe is like that ocean. Your individual supply is like the cup. When you demonstrate your supply, when you draw from universal substance, you do not diminish what is available to every other person. There's an infinite supply at the disposal of everyone simultaneously, without limitation, without competition. The ocean doesn't say, I can only fill so many cups today. Universal substance doesn't say there isn't enough to go around. That is human thinking imposing limitation on the unlimited. Let me give you another illustration that will make this even clearer. Right now, as I speak to you, radio waves carrying beautiful music are flowing through this very room. The air around you is filled with symphonies, with voices, with every kind of sound you can imagine. Are you hearing this music? Not unless you have a radio that is tuned to the right frequency. This is precisely how universal substance works in relation to supply. Universal substance, which is supply in its infinite, invisible form, is flowing around you and through you at this very moment. It is everywhere present, always available, like those radio waves. But your consciousness is the radio that must be tuned to the abundance frequency. Supply is not the problem. Supply is infinite and everywhere present. The tuning of consciousness is what makes the difference between demonstration and apparent lack. When your consciousness is tuned to abundance, you must experience abundance. When it is tuned to limitation, you experience limitation. This is law. Now let me explain to you exactly why some people experience lack when supply is infinite and always available. Imagine a man who plants weed seeds in his garden, tends them carefully, waters them faithfully, and then stands amazed when harvest time comes, wondering why he doesn't have vegetables on his table. Where are my tomatoes, he asks. Where are my beans? But he planted weed seeds, so he harvested weeds. The soil didn't care what kind of seeds he planted. Soil will grow whatever you give it with equal enthusiasm. Your consciousness is the soil of your experience. Your thoughts and beliefs about supply are the seeds you plant in that consciousness every single day. Your financial conditions are the harvest you reap from the seeds you have been planting. If you are experiencing financial limitation, you have been planting limitation consciousness, thoughts of not enough, beliefs in scarcity, fears about supply. The creative medium that responds to your consciousness doesn't argue with your mental seeds. It says, if you believe in lack, I will give you the experience of lack. If you believe in abundance, I will give you the experience of abundance. The creative medium responds to our conviction about supply with absolute precision. It cannot do otherwise, because that is how the law works. Here is something that will prove to you that this law is operating perfectly in every case. The law works the same for everyone, always, without exception. The rich person's abundance is proof that the law works. The poor person's lack is equally proof that the law works. Both are getting exactly what they are in consciousness. The law doesn't play favorites. It gives to each person the exact equivalent of their supply consciousness. We are rich or poor not by what we have in our bank account, but by what we are in consciousness about supply. Change the consciousness and you must change the bank account, because the bank account is only the effect of consciousness. Let me give you the most important concept you will ever learn about supply. And when you understand this clearly, you will understand why treatment for supply must work. There is something we call the mental equivalent. Your mental equivalent for supply is the consciousness that corresponds exactly to your financial experience. Your bank account, your financial conditions, your supply demonstration, all of these are the perfect reflection of your supply consciousness, nothing more and nothing less. This means that if you want to change your financial demonstration, you must change your mental equivalent for supply. There is no other way. You cannot have in your experience anything that you do not have the mental equivalent for in consciousness. What we experience financially is what we are in consciousness about supply. This is not sometimes true. This is always true. This is law. The question then becomes, how do we build the mental equivalent for abundance? How do we change supply consciousness from limitation to prosperity? That is exactly what I am going to teach you through specific scientific techniques that work because they are based on the understanding of how this law operates. When you change consciousness, conditions must change. This is not my opinion. This is the fundamental law of the universe in operation. Now you might say to me, Dr. Holmes, I've tried thinking positively about money, and nothing changed. I've affirmed abundance. I've tried to believe in prosperity, but my bank account looks exactly the same. How can you tell me this works when I've already tried it? Let me explain to you the difference between positive thinking and scientific prayer, because this difference is absolutely crucial to your success. Positive thinking says, I hope things will get better. I'm going to try to think good thoughts, and maybe something will change. That is wishful thinking. And wishful thinking has no power to change conditions because it is not based on principle. Scientific prayer, which we call spiritual mind treatment, says there is infinite supply available right now. I recognize this truth, I accept this truth, I embody this truth in consciousness. Treatment doesn't try to create supply. Treatment recognizes the supply that already exists in universal substance. We don't demonstrate supply by trying to get money. We demonstrate supply by recognizing the abundance that already surrounds us, that already flows through us, that we already are in consciousness. Let me give you an example. I knew a woman who spent months saying, I want money, I need money, I must have money. Nothing changed. Then she learned to treat correctly. There is one life, and that life is abundant supply. This life that I am is now expressing as perfect provision for every need. Within weeks, new opportunities, new sources of income began to appear. The difference was not in trying to get something she didn't have, but in recognizing what she already had access to in mind. The question then becomes, if supply is infinite and available to everyone, why do good people struggle financially? Why are some children born into poverty while others are born into wealth? Let me give you the scientific answer to this question, because when you understand this, you will see why every person can change their financial demonstration regardless of their background. Consciousness is inherited just like physical characteristics. A child born into a family with lack consciousness absorbs that mental atmosphere from birth. They hear conversations about not having enough, about money being hard to get, about having to struggle to survive. This becomes their mental equivalent for supply without them ever choosing it consciously. These family patterns of limitation thinking get passed down from generation to generation, just as surely as brown eyes or curly hair get passed down. The child grows up with inherited lack consciousness and demonstrates lack conditions, not because supply isn't available to them, but because they have never learned to tune their consciousness to abundance. But here is the good news, and this is why I can speak with such scientific certainty. Consciousness can always be changed through understanding and through scientific prayer. Every generation can break the pattern of limitation that may have existed in their family for decades. Poverty is a thing of thought and not of purse. When thought changes, the purse must change, because the purse is only the effect of thought. I knew a businessman who came from 3 generations of financial struggle. His grandfather struggled, his father struggled, and he was struggling. But when he learned these principles and began to treat scientifically for supply consciousness, everything changed. Within 2 years, he had built a prosperous business. He broke the family pattern through understanding law and applying it correctly. And why must this principle work even when you face immediate financial crisis? You might say, Dr. Holmes, this sounds good in theory, but I have bills due tomorrow. How can I think abundantly when the rent is due and I don't know where the money is coming from? Here is the scientific answer. Panic consciousness creates more panic conditions. Fear consciousness creates more conditions to be afraid of. When you treat your immediate financial need with anxiety and worry, you are literally using the creative law to create more situations that cause anxiety and worry. Emergency treatment for immediate financial need focuses on right action. You recognize that the same divine intelligence that created your body, that beats your heart, that grows your hair, knows exactly how to meet your present need. And it knows today, not next week or next month. The universe knows exactly how to meet your need, and it knows today. Treatment for immediate supply doesn't deny that the bills exist. It recognizes the intelligence that can handle them through channels you may never have considered. I have seen people in apparent financial crisis discover money they had forgotten about, receive unexpected payments, find new sources of income, all within hours of correct treatment. Why? Because right action was released through consciousness that recognized divine intelligence instead of focusing on the problem. Treatment says, the same mind that provides for the birds of the air and the flowers of the field provides for me now, today, through perfect right action. Now let me give you the exact treatment I want you to use every morning to establish supply consciousness. This is not guesswork. This is the precise application of universal law to the demonstration of supply. Listen carefully to each step, because each step has a specific scientific purpose in building your mental equivalent for abundance. Step 1, universal recognition. There is one life, one mind, one infinite supply, and this life is perfect abundance, expressing everywhere. You begin by establishing the universal principle. You are not asking for supply. You are recognizing that supply is. This life that is infinite supply is not somewhere else. It is the fundamental reality of existence itself. Step 2, personal unification. This life that is infinite supply is the life that I am. I am one with all the abundance of the universe. Now, you unify yourself with this universal truth. You are not separate from infinite supply. You are infinite supply, individualized. This is not wishful thinking. This is the scientific fact about your true nature. Sit down for me. Present realization. Therefore, right here, right now, I recognize that infinite supply is flowing to me as me, through me as me. The word therefore is crucial. This flows logically from what you have already established. If you are one with infinite supply, then supply must be flowing through you right now. This is logical necessity. Step 4, specific application. This supply appears as right action in my business, divine guidance in my career, and perfect provision for every need. You now direct the universal principle into specific channels. Supply is not just abstract abundance, it is practical provision through definite avenues of expression. Step 5, grateful release. I give thanks that this is now the truth about me, and I release this word into the law. You end with thanksgiving and release, because you have recognized what is already true, not tried to make something happen. The law now takes your recognition and makes it visible in your experience. This treatment works because you are not begging or pleading with some external power. You are recognizing what is already scientifically true about your relationship to universal supply. Each step builds logical certainty in consciousness, and consciousness always externalizes itself as conditions. You end with release, not clinging because you have done the work in mind where all demonstration takes place first. When you face an immediate financial crisis, when the bills are due and you cannot see where the money will come from, here is your emergency treatment. This focuses on right action rather than specific amounts because divine intelligence knows exactly what is needed and how to provide it. Listen to this treatment carefully. There is one intelligence in the universe, and this intelligence knows exactly how to meet my present need. This intelligence is perfect, unlimited, and always successful in its operation. This same intelligence that created my body, that beats my heart without my conscious direction, that coordinates billions of processes in my physical being every moment, knows how to coordinate my financial affairs and pay my bills. Divine intelligence is now revealing the perfect solution to my financial situation. I do not need to know how this will happen. I only need to recognize that it is happening now in mind. I am now guided to right action. Every step I take is directed by this perfect intelligence. I follow this guidance with complete confidence because it cannot lead me astray. The way is made clear before me step by step. My supply is demonstrated now through channels I may never have considered, in ways that are perfect for my situation. I release this word into the creative law, knowing that it must produce the perfect result, and so it is. I knew a woman who was facing eviction. The notice had been served, and she had just 3 days to pay her rent or lose her home. Instead of panic, she used this treatment morning and evening. The second day, her estranged brother called her completely unexpectedly to make amends, and during their conversation discovered her situation and immediately sent the needed money. The law knows nothing about your present circumstances. It only knows how to demonstrate supply through whatever channel is perfect for your particular need. Beyond formal treatment, every day I want you to practice recognizing the supply you already have operating in your life. This builds supply consciousness gradually and permanently. Every morning before you get out of bed, list 10 ways that supply is already flowing to you. Your health is supply. Without it, all the money in the world would be meaningless. Your breath is supply. It comes to you freely, without cost or effort. Your shelter, your food, your relationships, your ability to think, all of these are forms of universal supply already demonstrated in your experience. At noon, take a moment to notice the abundance that nature demonstrates everywhere around you. There is unlimited air to breathe, unlimited sunlight, unlimited beauty. Nature never hoards, never lacks, never says there isn't enough. This is the natural state of reality. Abundance without limit. Each evening, give thanks for the supply that came to you that day, both seen and unseen. Perhaps you received a smile, a word of encouragement, a solution to a problem. All of these are supply, because all of these are life expressing itself for your benefit. This practice builds supply consciousness systematically, and supply consciousness must demonstrate the supply conditions. Now, let me teach you about the circulation of supply, because this is crucial to maintaining abundant flow in your experience. Supply must circulate to remain healthy, just as blood must circulate in your body. When you give minors, whether money, service, time, or even gratitude, you demonstrate abundance consciousness. You are saying to the universe, I have so much that I can give to others. When you receive gracefully, without embarrassment, without feeling you must immediately pay back, you honor the giver and you honor the law that is seeking to express through them to you. Both giving and receiving are necessary for healthy supply flow. Many people can give but cannot receive. Others want to receive but will not give. Both attitudes block the natural circulation of abundance. Practice this, give something every day. It may be money if you have it, service if you can provide it, or simply a genuine smile or word of appreciation. When you give from abundance consciousness, you demonstrate abundance consciousness, and the law must return to you according to what you have demonstrated. What we give out must return to us multiplied, not because we deserve reward, but because this is law. The law of circulation is as precise as the law of mathematics. And now, let us together recognize the truth about your supply. I speak this word not as theory, not as hope, but as the recognition of what is eternally and scientifically true. There is one life, and that life is God. That life is your life now, not tomorrow, not when you become more worthy, but right now as you hear these words. There is one mind, and that mind is infinite abundance, perfect supply, unlimited substance. That mind is your mind now. There is one supply, and that supply is the very essence of reality itself. That supply is your supply now. In this moment, I recognize for you and as you that you are surrounded by infinite abundance. You do not live in lack. You live in abundance, having a temporary experience of limitation. The substance of the universe is flowing to you as you, through you as you, for there is no separation between you and the source of all supply. Your consciousness is now attuned to prosperity, and prosperity must appear in your experience, because consciousness and conditions are one. Right action now governs all your financial affairs, not sometimes, but always. Divine intelligence now directs your every transaction, your every decision, your every movement in the realm of supply. Perfect supply now meets your every need before the need appears. You do not have to worry. You do not have to struggle. You do not have to wonder where your good will come from. The universe has already provided, and that provision is now being made manifest in your experience through perfect right action. This word that I speak is the law in action for you. It cannot return void, because the law never fails. It must produce the thing whereunto it is sent, because that is the nature of law. Your financial demonstration is complete in mind right now, and it now appears in perfect form in your experience. You are now demonstrating perfect supply in perfect ways. This is not something that will happen. This is happening. The law is now working for you, as you, through you. You cannot be separated from your supply any more than you can be separated from the life that you are. And so it is, and so it must be. For there is no power in heaven or earth that can oppose the truth I have spoken. This is not my word. This is the word of the law itself. And the law cannot fail. Go now in the absolute certainty of your infinite supply. Let no person, no circumstance, no appearance of lack convince you otherwise. You are one with all the abundance of the universe, and this truth about you can never be taken from you, can never be changed, can never be diminished. The demonstration is complete, and so it is.